In my life, I have walked through many homes. Some of them were absolutely perfect on paper, everything in its place, flattering light, well chosen furniture, coordinated colors. But when I would meet the people who actually lived in those homes, one thing kept coming up again and again. They were not in their best condition, sometimes tired of their surroundings, and sometimes on the verge of a nervous breakdown, a kind of irritation that did not go away even after a full night of sleep. Let me give you one example. I was once contacted by a working couple in Gurgaon. As a standard practice, I wanted to take site measurements before I start designing. The gentleman, a soft spoken person, took me to their new flat. Due to some miscommunication, despite prior notice, the keys were not readily available when we reached, and we had to stand outside waiting. When a site officer finally came with the keys, he simply exploded, yelling at the top of his voice, hurling harsh comments at the poor fellow. I was taken aback. Someone who appeared cool and confident, working at a respectable position, so completely not in control of himself. What does it tell us? Despite a good house, a happy family, a respectable job, a swanky car, nothing could make him a man who could forgive that site officer for a small delay that happened by chance. And from that point on, I started asking a question that is still at the core of everything I do. How does a home actually work? Not as a structure, as a living system. आज हम उसी सवाल की इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने वाले हैं। पहले एक चीज क्लियरली समझ लेते हैं. This video is not a criticism of modern flats. I'm not here to tell you that your home is wrong, that your builder made bad decisions, or that you chose poorly. This investigation is about a different question entirely. For thousands of years, human beings lived in a certain kind of space. And over the last several decades, the kind of space most of us actually live in has quietly shifted. Between those two things, एक gap आ गया है. That gap is not dramatic. There was no single moment when everything changed, no obvious failure point, but the gap is real and its effect is real. Some people feel a tiredness that has no obvious cause. Some people have a home that is perfectly functional but somehow does not feel restful. Some people do not feel fully settled in their own space. Today, we are going to do three things. First, understand where that gap came from. Second, look at what traditional homes knew naturally that we have quietly left behind in modern design. And third, the most important part, look at what you can actually do in your current home, whatever your budget. Let us begin. If you have been following my last 6 shorts, you are already familiar with these problems: unexplained fatigue, sensory monotony, cognitive overload, urban loneliness, disconnection from nature, disrupted sleep from poor lighting. They seem like 6 separate problems. They were in 6 separate videos, each with a different fix suggested. But today I want to show you a different angle. These 6 problems are actually 6 faces of the same problem. वो रूट प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Our home has stopped being restorative. Restorative does not simply mean comfortable or relaxing. Restorative means actively recharging, actively repairing, actively helping to return the energy that the day consumed. A simple example: you come home from work, your mind is already full. The moment you walk in, the TV is on, phone notifications are waiting, there is visual clutter everywhere. The lighting is harsh. There is no transition, no buffer, no signal anywhere that tells your brain the day is over. So the brain does not wind down. It simply switches from office stress to home stress. And at night, the sleep that follows is not a complete reset. It is maintenance mode, not recovery mode. You wake up the next morning still tired, and you blame the workload, the age, the diet. But sometimes the blame belongs directly to the environment you keep returning to every single day. This is a system failure. And to understand a system failure, we need to look at when the system was actually working well. You are probably thinking, Yar, here we go again with courtyards and verandas. I live in a 2 BHK flat, not a coty. That is exactly the right pushback. But I'm not asking you to recreate a courtyard. I'm asking you to understand the intelligence behind it, because that intelligence is still applicable today. Only the form has changed, the function has not. Look at what a courtyard actually did. It brought natural light into the building, not just from one external side, but from a central point that distributed light through the entire home. It brought natural ventilation, cross airflow that regulated temperature without machinery. It gave people a neutral gathering space, neither fully inside nor fully outside. It provided daily sensory variety, open sky, changing weather, shifting light throughout the day, the sounds of wind or rain, and it gave children a supervised but genuinely open space to play around. Now look at your 2 BHK. The foyer has taken over the function of receiving and seeing of guests. The living room has become the gathering space. The balcony has absorbed the functions of sunlight, fresh air, and small domestic tasks. Air conditioning has taken over thermal comfort, and when there is a tulsi plant, it lives on the balcony too. The functions migrated, but something was lost in that migration. Kya miss hua? The experience of moving through spaces with genuinely different qualities. In a home with a courtyard, when without leaving the building, you experienced something different every single day. The quality of morning light was different from afternoon light. The feeling of the space during rain was different from summer heat. The air moved differently at different times. In today's sealed flat, most rooms feel roughly the same. Same temperature, same lighting intensity, same surfaces, same acoustic quality. The brain needs variety. It needs daily sensory variation. Variation that tells it what part of the day it is, what season it is, what the world outside is doing. When the variation is absent, people describe a feeling that is very specific. Every day feels the same. 3 months have passed and I barely noticed. I'm physically in the house but do not feel present. This is not boredom. This is a mild but chronic form of sensory deprivation. The veranda was a transition zone, neither outside nor inside, a space where you shifted from the public world to the private one, where you paused, took off your shoes, caught your breath, had 2 minutes of conversation with someone sitting there. That transition was neurologically significant. It gave the brain a signal that a mood shift was happening. In today's flat, you step out of the lift, walk down the corridor, and you are straight into the living room. Your body has arrived home. Your mind is still in the office. And the gap between where your body is and where your mind is something a lot of people feel but cannot name. Old homes were built with mud, wood, and other natural materials. These materials were not simply what was available, they were hygroscopic, meaning they absorbed and released moisture naturally, regulating humidity. They were thermally massive, meaning they buffered temperature fluctuations rather than amplifying them. And the textures provided a specific tactile experience that both the skin and the nervous system register and respond to. Smooth painted walls and glass surfaces do not do this work. The people who built traditional homes did not study environmental psychology. They did not have access to neuroscience, but they had something we are slowly losing: observation. Generations of lived experience, a deep understanding of what actually works when human beings inhabit a space for years and decades. That was human centered design, not by intention, but by necessity. A building had to work with human biology because there was no other system to compensate. Once I visited a 100-year-old mud house in a village near Nagpur. I was there to design a resort, and my client took me to this house when I expressed interest in studying traditional structures. Though most of the family had moved to the city, one branch still occupied a small part of that large house. They came out to greet us at the door, made us sit, showered us with refreshments, and started sharing stories about how that house was built. Within a short span of time, I was no longer an outsider. I genuinely felt as if they had known me for years. The grandmother of the house even suggested I cut my beard and have a clean shave, because it makes me look older than I am. When it was time to leave, I felt a heaviness in my heart that I had not felt before, for people I had never met and would probably never meet again. And that connection is what we miss in today's modern homes. Can we bring back that human quality, that warmth, that belonging, that ease with a stranger? That is exactly what the rest of this video is going to try and answer. Now we come to what this video is actually here to do: solutions. But I'm not going to give you a list. Pehle, a framework. You are in one of four situations. First, you are living in a flat right now and your budget is effectively zero. No renovation, no major purchases. Second, you have a small budget available. You can buy a few things, make a few small changes. Third, you are planning a renovation, walls, flooring, or a complete room overhaul. Fourth, you are moving into a new flat or are about to, and you have the budget for complete interior work. Each situation needs a different conversation. Let us start from the first: zero budget. First, an honest statement. If your budget is zero, I'm not going to tell you that everything can be fixed. कुछ चीजें genuinely require investment, but some things do not. The first action: open your windows for at least 1 hour every day. The combined effect of natural air, natural light, and the sounds of the outside world is genuinely different from a sealed, air conditioned room. This is not nostalgia, this is biology. The second action: choose one corner of your home that belongs only to you, phone free, screen free, a comfortable place where you sit for 10 minutes every day with no agenda. कोई खर्च नहीं, only intention. The third action: do a walkthrough of your flat and ask one question of every object you encounter. Does this actually need to be there? Clutter is not just a visual problem. Every unnecessary object is a small cognitive load. Your brain registers it every day, repeatedly. Remove what genuinely does not need to be there. The fourth action, and this one might surprise you: before you sleep, dim the lighting of your home. A table lamp, a night light, whatever you have. Switch off the bright overhead light. This costs nothing, and the effect on sleep quality is real. The fifth action: create a ritual at your entrance. When you come home, take off your shoes, pause for 2 minutes, let the transition take place, and do not pick up your phone immediately. Small budget. If you have a small budget, put it in one place first: lighting. One quality warm lamp in the 1800 to 2200K color temperature range, placed in your living room or bedroom, can genuinely change your experience of evenings. Not replace the overhead light, supplement it. After sunset, use the warm lamp. Switch off the overhead when you are not working. The biological reason is straightforward. For most of human history, the only light available after sunset was fire, warm, dim, flickering. Our sleep hormones are still waiting for that signal. When we flood our evenings with bright white light, the brain interprets it as a daytime continuing. नींद लेट आती है. Recovery is incomplete. The second investment: a thick rug or fabric curtains if you have hard floors and bare walls. This is an acoustic intervention. Sound gets absorbed rather than bouncing. The room feels quieter. Cognitive load drops. The third: one plant, not a garden, one living thing that reminds you daily that nature exists. The maintenance is simple, the cost is minimal, and the effect is disproportionate to both. Renovation budget. If you are planning a renovation, I want to save you from a mistake I see repeatedly. People begin renovation by deciding how they want the home to look. They bring references, Pinterest boards, Instagram saves. That is the wrong starting point. The first question should be: how do I want this home to feel? These are not the same question. A space that looks stunning in photographs and a space that is restorative to live in are not automatically the same space. They can be, but they do not arrive together without deliberate intention. So before a single material is selected, have this conversation with your designer or with yourself. You will use this space. When? In what state of mind? And what do they need from it? Rest, social connection, focused work, or something else? On materials, if you have a renovation budget and you want one genuinely meaningful upgrade, do one wall in mud plaster. I'm not saying this because it is trending. I'm saying it because a breathable wall changes the felt quality of a room in a way that is difficult to describe until you have experienced it. Mud plaster is hygroscopic. It absorbs humidity when there is excess and releases it when there is a deficit. It buffers temperature slightly, and its texture interacts with light differently from paint. Not harsh, but warm and absorptive. तीन चीजें पहले समझ लें if you want to go ahead with this. First, it does not need to be every wall. One or two feature walls are good to start with. Second, it needs maintenance over time. Touch-ups will be required. And third, it needs an experienced hand for application. Without that, cracking is inevitable. On lighting, plan it as a system, not as a product. Every space in your home should have more than one lighting option. Bright task lighting when you're working, warm ambient light when you're resting, or invest in smart lighting. Plan an arrival zone. At the entrance, even a small one, a bench or a small stool. Design the transition space that the flat does not naturally provide. New flat, full interior budget. If you're moving into a new flat and you have the budget for complete interior work, you have an opportunity that renovation clients do not. You can make the right decisions from day one. But with that opportunity comes a specific risk. When the budget is full and the canvas is blank, people tend to over design. Her surface covered, her wall treated, her corner styled. The result looks extraordinary in the first few weeks, and then gradually it becomes overwhelming. In my experience, the best homes are not the ones where the most work was done. The best homes are the ones where the right work was done, and the rest of the space has room to breathe. So, the first principle, plan restraint deliberately. The second, before a single tile is laid or a wall is painted, have one specific conversation. Where is the natural light coming from? At what time of day? And am I designing with that light or against it? This single question can make a huge difference in the lived experience of the home. North facing rooms need warm materials and warm lighting more than south facing rooms. South facing rooms need glare management. This is basic orientation intelligence that gets ignored even in premium interiors. Third, ask your designer specifically about sensory variety. The different parts of your home should feel genuinely different from each other. One room cooler, one warmer, one that can be loud, one that stays quiet, one filled with natural light, one more private and contained. This variety does what the courtyard did. रोज का experience monotonous नहीं रहेगा. And fourth, design a threshold. Give the entrance zone actual architectural attention, not as an afterthought, as a deliberate transition space. One more question. This is the question I know some of you will ask in the comments. I tried all of this plants, better lighting, cleared the clutter, created an arrival zone, and I still do not feel settled in my own home. क्या problem है? That is an important question, and it deserves an honest answer. Sometimes the problem is not the home. Design is a powerful tool, but it is not a therapist. A well designed space can support you, help you recover, reduce the ambient stress that runs in the background. But if the source of the anxiety is something else, relationships, work, unresolved things inside you, the home alone cannot fix that. घर एक कंटेनर जैसा है, जो आप उसमें डालते हैं वही रहेगा. What design can do is stop the container from working against you so that the energy you need for recovery is not being wasted by the environment itself. But the recovery is yours to do. The space can only improve the conditions. If you have tried everything and something still feels off, perhaps that conversation is not about the home at all. It is about you, and that is completely valid. We have covered a lot in this investigation: fatigue, monotony, overload, loneliness, light, nature, the threshold, and the intelligence that traditional architecture carried naturally without naming it. But I want to leave with one thing, just one. We shape our homes, and then slowly our homes begin to shape us. That may sound a little poetic, but it is literally true. Your home is making decisions for you every single day. How well you sleep, how recovered you feel, how connected you are to the people you live with, how present you are inside your own life. You are not actively making these decisions. Your environment is making them on your behalf. So the real question is not about renovation. It is not about budget. It is not about style. The real question is this: आपका घर आपको कैसा इंसान बना रहा है? If the answer is not what you want, the change starts there, with awareness, with one small thing, and then slowly one after another. Because a good home is not always an expensive home, but a good home always makes you feel a little more human. Remember, हर घर की डिजाइन स्टोरी अलग होती है.